Welcome, lovers! I don't know what I'm doing, but you probably already knew that. And welcome back to another episode of Things That I Don't Understand. I believe this is part 4. As you already know, there are a lot of things in the world that I really don't understand, like, at all, and I've decided to make a whole list of them and why I don't understand them, because I find it entertaining. Let us continue. The first thing I would like to talk about today would be people who react badly to voice mimicking. Not so much like actual mimicking of someone, but when you're around people who have a different accent than you, and then you end up unintentionally copying their accent. I don't get people who get really insulted by that. The main reason that I don't understand this is because it is a natural human reaction to take on the habits and mannerisms and behaviors of the people that we're around. If you're around people who do things like, dude, nice, all the time, like my friend Garrick does, then you develop the same habit. If you're around them enough and they do that a lot, you end up doing the things that they do. And it's not any different when it comes to your voice, when it comes to an accent. You could put a British person in the same room with an Irish person, and one of them will at some point during the conversation inadvertently copy the other person's accent, and it's not on purpose. I don't get why people think you're mocking them because of having a natural reaction. It's yes, there are people that will mock you for speaking differently. I know that. But 9 times out of 10, it's completely involuntary. And it just means that their brain is trying to cope and evolve to the situation. So, I don't get why that would be an insult. The next thing that I'd like to talk about is very near and dear to the hatred center of my heart. Because here in Texas, it doesn't always rain, but when it does, driving is the worst. Because no one in Texas ever remembers how to drive when it rains. If I have to go somewhere and it's raining, regardless of who's on the road, what time of day it is, whatever, pretty much everyone else on the road, even if you're on the frickin' highway, where the speed limit is 75, people will be going 30 because it's raining. You're supposed to go 5 to 10 under the speed limit when it's raining, not go frickin' 30 on the highway. And there's also the fact that half of the people don't know how to not lose control of their car in the rain, so you'll get 85 wrecks in the same day. And then the other half of the people are so afraid of getting in a wreck that they will turn on their blinker and then take half an hour to move over one lane. And I'm it's not that hard. Driving is still driving when it's raining. Yes, it's a little more wet and slippery. That's what you said. But that doesn't change anything. It's yes, you should be careful, but that doesn't mean you should totally throw out everything you know about driving. The next thing I'd like to complain about is people who try to pet other people's service dogs. It is, at least it's supposed to be common knowledge, that a service dog is there for a reason. They're working, they're on duty, making sure that the person they're working for doesn't freaking die. More than half of them are there because their owners have seizures or something of that sort, and they have to and they're trained to see the signs and then bark at them when something's about to happen. But you're supposed to not distract these animals, because if you do, they could miss something really important and then people could get hurt or die. You're not supposed to distract them, but there's so many people that will just go up to a person's service dog, not asking if they're working or not, when their vest is on, and just go, oh, what a cute dog, and pet it and distract it. And I'm stop it, somebody could die. It's I get it. Dogs are adorable, and I love them, and they're good boys and good girls, and I understand, but you need to have some self-control, because as I said 4 times now, people can get really hurt and die if you distract these animals. it's not worth it. And on the point of petting animals you should not be petting is when you go up to an animal that clearly does not like you and you try to pet it anyway. Like, I have on so many occasions come across people who, like, they'll go up to somebody and they're like, oh, this is my dog, and they're not friendly, they don't want to be pet, and like they're growling at them and they're like, oh, but animals love me, it's fine. And you're like, no, it's not. They're growling at you, they're baring their teeth, the owner is telling you they're going to bite you. Why are you still trying to pet it? Why? And like, so many people will go up to like a stray animal and just get in its face and try to pet it, obviously without knowing if it's been in an abusive situation or if it's gotten in a fight recently, or if it's like starving so it thinks it can like eat you or something. I don't know, but people will go up to like animals like that and try to pet them and then be so shocked when there's like a hole ripped out of their arm. And like there's also the situation of like, you could go over to like somebody's house and they have an animal that doesn't even usually bite or growl or attack or anything. Like, it's a friendly dog. But if it doesn't like you, or it's not in the mood to be touched, and it's obviously like baring its teeth and growling, and like its hair is standing up on its neck, and you still try to pet it, it's your fault that you get hurt. It so obviously is telling you no. Like, why do people do this and then still are like, oh, this animal needs to be put down, it bit me? Like, why? Where is your common sense? Another thing that I really don't understand is if somebody learns that you have a mental illness of some kind, like anxiety, depression, PTSD, other things, I don't understand the people who will go up to you and be like, oh, it's okay, it's all in your head. No, I thought it was in my ass. Of course it's in your head. It is a disorder. That's like going up to someone with asthma and saying, oh, it's fine, it's all in your lungs. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, your brain is an organ, and organs can get sick. And these disorders that you're like, oh, it's all in your head, are illnesses. They're chemical imbalances and differences in the structure of the brain on occasion. Duh, it's in your head. It's a problem with your actual brain. Like, why do you think that it's any less valid when it's a problem with your brain? If anything, it's more of a problem because your brain functions the rest of your body. Like, these people sound so stupid when they say this too. Like, they think they're being so smart. And it's like, you sound like an idiot. Because you clearly don't know what's going on. So, why? Another thing that I'm going to talk about is people who assume that all tattoos, no matter what they are or where they are going to look really shitty when you get old. Like, I don't get that. I've talked about similar problems before relative to tattoos. Obviously, I have them. I deal with these stupid people. But like, people who will go up and no matter where it is on your body, no matter what it is on your body, they're like, oh, it's gonna look, I bet you it's gonna look really stupid and wrinkly and saggy when you're old and like, first of all, most places on your body don't sag when you get old unless for some reason you have a whole bunch of extra skin. Second of all, tattoos are freaking cool, and when you're old, they look fucking badass. I have never seen an old person with a tattoo not look like a badass. Like, ever. So I don't understand these people who, like, are under the impression that it just looks crappy when you're old. I'm like, no, it makes you look cool. And what business of yours is it if somebody else wants to get a tattoo? Maybe they want it to look weird when they're old so they can just tell a funny story of, oh, ha ha ha, when I was young I did this thing. Maybe that's what they want to do. That's none of your business. And it's like, hey, maybe you just don't like tattoos. Maybe you think they look weird. But that doesn't mean everyone has to agree with you now, does it? The next group of people I'd like to talk about are people who say dance or art or gymnastics or music or anything of that sort is easy. This pisses me off so much. Like, I have on so many occasions come across people and we'll be talking about like, oh, what we do in our free time or something like that, and I'll be like, oh yeah, like back when I was in high school, I'd be like, oh yeah, I dance every day after school. And I'd be like, oh yeah, it can get really exhausting sometimes because I have ballet, tap, jazz, hip-hop team, all this stuff, and like we would talk about it and they'd be like, oh, I bet it's not that tiring. And I'm like, why would it not be tiring? It's basically a sport. And they're like, oh no, it's not. Dancing is easy. Like, that's gotta be the easiest thing ever. And I'm like, honey, do you know anything about dance? At all. Because, like, even the simplest things that you do are hard. At least if you don't know what you're doing, freaking standing in first position, which is standing straight up with your heels connected and your toes turned out, requires a lot of work because you have to stand up straight, your shoulders have to be back, your core has to be tightened, your butt has to be pressed down, your legs have to be tightened from the ankle all the way up, and then you have to keep yourself centered for whatever it is you're doing. You have to keep your head up and straight, and you have to have your arms wherever it is that they go in the proper position. And you have to think about all of that at once. And obviously dancing isn't just standing still. So you have to do that along with thinking about whatever else it is you're doing, whether it's getting warmed up for class, doing things like batmas, which is kicking your leg all the way up in your face, and you have to keep your legs straight, and you have to push with like 12 different muscles, and then you have to control the descent. And you have to do that multiple times while looking like it's easy. And just that can be hard sometimes. And that's like some of the most basic shit. I don't understand people who talk about it as if they know what's going on. 'Cause like, it's so obviously not simple. Like, you could watch dancers and pay attention just the way their bodies are moving and know that it's not that easy. Like, they make it look easy because they're trained to. They're supposed to. It's a form of entertainment. And the same thing goes for things like music and art, because art takes a long time to perfect. It is not easy to get lines where they need to go without making things overlap or smudge or just be the wrong proportions. It's not easy. It may look easy to you, but you try drawing a very frickin' detailed horizon with a bunch of trees and ocean and shit. It's not easy. Try drawing a realistic person's face. It's fucking hard. And like with the music, you have to train. If it's like a wind instrument, you have to like train your fingers and push with a certain amount of strength and be able to learn the timing, and you have to be able to read sheet music, and you have to be able to take really deep controlled breaths and let it out like in spurts or in long bits, and you have to learn how to breathe in your nose and out your mouth really quickly. And you have to concentrate this whole time and try to not get lightheaded because you still have to read the sheet music. And how is that easy? Like, I don't understand these people who just assume stuff is easy because they've never tried it, and they're like, oh, well, it looks easy. So the next thing that I'm going to talk about is parents who allow their children to hit things. Not just like inanimate things, like people and animals. Like, it's not the kid's fault, because when you're growing up and you're like really, really little, you don't really understand the concept of good and bad, what you're supposed to do, what you're not supposed to do, okay, and what's not okay. Your parents are supposed to teach you. That's kind of the point of being a parent. You're supposed to raise a person so that it can be an efficient human when it's an adult. So when you go around and your kid goes like hitting animals and people, and you don't tell them that's a bad thing, or you don't punish them for it, like, it's not hard to be like, hey, don't do that, that's not okay. And if they don't listen, you can pull them to the side and be like, stop it, this is your last warning. And if they do it again, you can make them stand in the corner or sit away from everyone, or you can take something away from them that they like to do. Stuff like that. It's not hard to teach discipline. So why in the world would you allow your child to hit people? if you allow them to hit the wrong people, I guarantee you, regardless of their age, they're going to get hit back by some people. Because, hello, the world is not full of good, happy, wonderful, good-hearted people. It's not. Some people will hit your child if they hit them. And there are people who will scream at your child if they hit them. And for everyone else, they're just going to be mad at you for being an idiot parent. Like, I understand some situations where you've had a long day and you've been trying to deal with your kid and they do it again and you're just like, dang it, and you have to go get them and apologize. That's different. But if you just let them go and hit people and just like, oh, they're just kids. No, you have to teach them. Yes, they're kids. They don't know any better because you're supposed to teach them what's okay. And like if they do it to animals, I guarantee you they're gonna get bit and stung and attacked and scratched. And guess what? It'll be your fault for not telling them not to. They're gonna get hurt and they're gonna start yelling, and you cannot tell them that, oh, it's your fault for not doing it because you didn't tell them not to do it in the first place. Like, why? Why are there so many bad parents in the world? And the next thing, and also the last thing that I'm going to be talking about today, is also in relevance to bad parenting. And not even bad parenting, just people in general who will go to like a small child and they'll be like, I want to be this when I grow up, or I want to do this when I grow up, and they'll be like, oh, you can't do that. Who does that? Why? I don't understand people who put kids' dreams down. Like, even if it's like a ridiculous thing that makes no sense, they're kids. It's what makes them happy. Let them be happy. Let them be kids. Why do you have to put their dreams down? And if it's something that happens to be really hard to do, or it's mainly men or mainly women and they happen to be the opposite gender and they really want to do it, that doesn't mean they can't. Why do you have to put them down? There is no good reason to put a small child's dreams down. Unless it has something to do with, like, hurting somebody. But, like, do you get pleasure out of making kids cry or something? Why? What is wrong with you? Like, people like this just confuse me. I'm like, you were a kid once. You may not clearly remember it, but you gotta at least remember what it was like to have that wide-eyed dream. Why would you take that away from them? And like, if you remember anything from being a kid, one of the things pretty much everyone remembers is how utterly depressing and traumatizing it could be to have people do that to you. Like, why would you... Just because you don't like kids or you don't agree with them or you think their dream is stupid doesn't give you the right to make them feel like shit. Like, have some freaking empathy and treat kids like people. Don't just there are just so many things that bother me that I don't get. Anyways, that's all the stuff that I had for you guys today. So hopefully you enjoyed it, and if you didn't, that's okay and understandable, but hopefully I'll see you in the next video anyway. So until then, I hope your day and or night is just as lovely as you are, and maybe we'll have more of this series later. So bye. Are you a magician? Because every time I look at you, everyone else disappears.